Everyone, I've been putting this video together over the last 4 or 5 days, kind of right after I finished my other video, which was a review. I've had the phone now for about a week and a day now, and the one thing I wanted to cover is I want to go over some new updates or revisions to the review. Mostly I can talk about battery life now and apps and stuff like that. But more importantly, I want to cover some inconsistencies and incorrect issues I had with my camera comparison to the Pixel Pro 7, and it's a problem that's been driving me insane with this phone as a person who primarily used it as my camera for every event, family events, personal work, everything. And I would always take pictures in a pinch. My favorite thing is a telephoto, and hopefully software can fix this. But I have been taking a lot of pictures, supposedly, here's my air quotes, in 5x or more, but it really wasn't switching to the telephoto lens. It would stay on the main camera. Now, I've had this happen pretty rarely with my Pixel 7 Pro, but it happens almost every single time with this phone. Mostly when I have it in the closed mode, which is when you take it out of your pocket, double tap your power button to take a quick pic. Well, if you think it's a 5x, it might not be. And to show that, I've gone with my very scientific, very technical way of proving it by putting a red marker on the telephoto, blue marker on the telephoto lens and red marker on the main camera sensor, on the main lens. Now, in between you have I believe it's a laser autofocus, or it's what they call the CLAF focus sensor, so I made sure not to cover that. And I will just go ahead and demonstrate by seeing the colors here what I've been dealing with. So my camera comparison between the Pixel 7 Pro and the Fold is not correct, because a lot of the terrible telephoto photos that I was kind of really digging into with this phone actually were taken with the main sensor cropped, a digital zoom of 5x, which of course makes sense. It was using their super zoom res technology, which is, it can't even compare to a true telephoto lens, or at least a lens with a telephoto attachment to it. So let me just get into it. So 1x here, as you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and try to keep reflections out of here and all that. 1x, red cap. 5x should be blue cap. You're still seeing red. Now, I have seen that it has a lot to do with focus. So if I start to just manually zooming in past the 5x, okay, so let me go ahead and tap on that so you can see. Here I go. Bam. Okay, at 10x, not even, like at 9, 8x, it switched to the blue cap. So that's now when you can see that the camera forced its way to activate that telephoto lens. So again, I take my phone out. This happens a lot with my Pixel 7. I see a cool bird flying by or some crazy person walking around the streets, whatever. The fact is, double tap it, take it out, 5x, go to snap a picture, bam. What am I getting with this phone? I'm getting a blurry main camera sensor at a 5x digital zoom, which looks terrible compared to the Pixel 7 Pro. Now, my Pixel 7 Pro kind of had this issue. It was very rare. With this phone, it's super common. It happens almost all the time. I have to literally sometimes toggle between 2 and 5, 2 and 5, 2 and 5 to try to get it, or zoom in manually and then zoom out. Now, again, when you have something really close, like let me go ahead and remove the red marker. Actually, before I do the red marker, let me show you the other way that I've gotten it to kind of work. Having the phone open. Now, when the phone's open, it's a little bit better with this. Let me go ahead and see. There's a 5x, 2, 1, still all red, so it still has not switched to the telephoto. But let me force that to see here, 7.5x. Oh, sorry, it's not focusing there. Doesn't help. 10x, there you go. So at 9 or 10, it does that switch to telephoto. Should be happening at 5x, but it's happening at 10x. If I'm tapping the 5x, it's not happening. Now, here's how I get it to do it. Let me go ahead and modify my super technical sensor device here. Oh, great. Stand by. Okay, so Still super scientifically engineered, but only the telephoto is now covered in that blue marker. And here's why I want to show you that. So sometimes it has to do with the focusing. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on something that's quite far away. Here's 1x. It just did a switch from Y to main sensor. I saw that. 2x. Now let's see if I can get 5x to do the switch. Okay, these things are still pretty close. Let's go to something that's a little bit further away. I have like a closet knob over there. There you go. So I focused on something that is at least 5 feet away from me, and it activated the telephoto lens. So my assumption is that there is a sensor, if you can see it, right there, a little white square. I'll point at it with something much smaller than my fat finger so you guys can see. There is a white square right there that I believe is a laser sensor. That's the main camera lens. That is the ultra wide. That's the telephoto. I'm guessing that's receiving data, and despite the fact that you want to activate the telephoto lens at 5x, 6, 7, 8x, it doesn't care. If something is really close and it cannot be put into focus, it will not let you activate that. Now, I'm assuming this will be tweaked or probably softened with some camera software updates. And I've had some camera software updates, including some pixel camera computational updates, and you know, the June update for the phone. There have been dozens of updates for this thing, but I still just can't take the phone out, press 5x, and get that telephoto lens to activate. I mean, I really have to try to get that in there. You know, so that's one thing I wanted to show. So what does that mean? That meant that I took dozens of pictures at 5x with this phone right out of my pocket while holding my Pixel 7 in my other hand, snapping pictures away, thinking that 5x to 5x was a fair comparison, but it wasn't. This was never truly activating the telephoto lens for like 90% of the pictures I took. So I retook some pictures, and I definitely made sure that the telephoto lens was activated before I snapped the picture. So the pictures I'm going to show in today's comparison will definitely be a much more, I guess, conclusive or fair comparison between the two devices. So that is going to be one of the things I cover here. The other two things I want to talk about is battery life. So now that I've had the phone, it took at least a good 3 days for that battery to settle in. And once it settled in, I see the reviews. I don't know why people are saying the battery life is terrible. It is not. Either they haven't had a foldable, or they're comparing it to I don't know what. Comparing this to the Pixel 7 Pro, and the battery life is like 90% there. Like if I got 10 hours with my Pixel 7 Pro, I'd get just over 9 hours with this. I'm not talking about screen on time. Screen on time is obviously less. I'm just trying to keep it a whole number so it's easy to understand. I'm ending my day with my Pixel 7 Pro, and maybe I'm not a crazy power user, but I'm ending my day with my Pixel 7 Pro at usually around 10%, 10 to 15%. No, let's be fair. It's probably closer to 15 to 20% with my Pixel 7 Pro. I'm ending my day with this phone at 10%. That's 5% less. I'm using the inside screen. I mean, I use the outside screen a whole lot more, but I'm using the inside screen. Now, when I had my Z Fold my Samsung Z Fold 4, another foldable phone, which has a smaller battery, but a less battery draining Snapdragon chip in it, gave me probably slightly worse battery life than this phone. I mean, maybe it was equal, I don't know, but I felt like it was slightly worse. The other thing I will say, so battery life, I'll say it's good. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's good. If fantastic and great are what I expect from really great phones with battery life, I'd say this is very good. Maybe that's me. The other thing I will say is apps. There are still dozens of apps that are not ready for this phone. As soon as I had my Samsung Z Fold 4, again, like the Pokemon Go app, immediately full screen. A bunch of games, a bunch of other apps, because the Fold at that point is a 4th generation. This is the 1st generation. Maybe Google hasn't gotten everybody to update them yet, but as it is right now, there are still dozens of apps that do not go into tablet mode or full screen mode on this phone that I've seen go into full screen tablet mode on the Z Fold 4. So, you know, maybe it needs another month, or maybe it needs another couple weeks. I mean, let's be fair. This is their first foldable phone, and Google isn't great to getting these app developers to do whatever they want. They are not Apple. I think that's pretty much it update-wise. I'll still say it feels great in the hand. I absolutely love it. I'm just still disappointed that even now that I have that telephoto thing locked down, the camera isn't what I want it to be. Nighttime shots are still consistently blurrier than the Pixel 7 Pro. It takes just a little longer. Obviously, the sensor is weaker. When I go into my camera comparison, I'm going to throw the information of both phone sensors up there. Because to be real, I personally think a proper camera comparison is a mix between subjective and technical. I mean, you have to look at them technically. There is a lot of computational stuff happening in the background here that can make a weaker sensor still produce amazing pictures, and this takes amazing daytime pictures with its main sensor. But when you get indoors, when it's nighttime, when you're using the telephoto lens, I'm sorry, it's too weak of hardware to compete with phones with better hardware. The S23 series, the Google Pixel 7 Pros, and I get it, it's a foldable. It's not supposed to be a premium camera experience, but when they said that the Pixel Fold had the best camera systems on a foldable to date at Google's I/O and various other things, I hoped it would be at least as good as the Pixel 7 Pro. The thing that I hated about the Z Folds was how weak the camera was. And I use my phones, as I say, for video recorders, for all of the videos you see here. I use them to take pictures of all events. I mean, sure, I have, a professional camera with removable lenses and whatnot, but I don't want to bring a heavy Canon around with me. Or even my smaller pocket Sony. I'd rather just bring my Pixel with me. And, this can't be that, unfortunately. Maybe next gen, but then again, you see all the rumors about what's happening with the Pixel Pro 8 that's coming out, and it gets me excited about that. Now, that'll never compete to the productivity of this. I absolutely love using ebooks in this. I love reading comics on this. Having that full screen is fantastic. You can actually read a comic book on this, and it's totally fine. I mean, let me see if I can pull something up here. Let's see. What do I got here? Let me unlock. So if I get a comic book and I go through the pages like so, I could totally read this. I'm just doing nothing short of just swiping up as I go along, which I prefer to not reveal panels ahead since I'm spoiled with reading them on digital things. Now, I do this with my Pixel 7 Pro, and it is closer to this experience, which will look... I still think there's an in-screen display, which will look like this. At best like that. And there's no way that you can really, read comics when you're trying to do something like this. It just doesn't happen. I do that on tablets. But on a foldable phone, you can do that as well. I also do some remote desktop work where I access certain computers with this phone, and I can actually do that with the screen unfolded. So productivity, absolutely. I give it a 9 out of 10 just to give it some random number, where my Pixel 7 Pro is a 5 out of 10, if even. So still usable, still love foldables. This phone is definitely not as fragile as I thought. I've taken it to the beach. I've taken it around. It's been dropped, never face down. It's had a couple small drops. It's been tossed in bags. I purposely kind of tried to treat it not as delicately so that I can go ahead and truly see if anything was going to happen. And honestly, no, everything's been fine. So it's been great, except for that camera. And I'm a camera guy when it comes to smartphones. So sure, again, you just bring a point and shoot with you. Just get a RX series Sony and just have that in your pocket. No, I want to just carry a phone around. So enough ranting with that. Let me get to the camera comparison, and then I'll get back here. Okay, for this round 2 comparison between the Pixel Fold pictures that will be on the left side and the Pixel 7 Pro on the right side, I wanted to make sure that my telephoto lenses were coming out correct. So I made sure for every Pixel Fold and 7 Pro that when I clicked on 5X, the telephoto lens was being activated. And I'll start off by saying that here's a picture from the main camera at 1X, and these are those type of examples where they just look almost identical. I mean, you see a little bit of more over sharpening on these background palm trees on the Pixel Fold rather than the Pixel 7. The Pixel 7, the detail is a bit more there. These are all 100%. When I'm zooming in, this is a 100% zoom in of the actual full res photos of both here. So you're not going to get any cropped details here. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I'll try to upload this video in 4K. I'll see if I have any issues with it since I usually do 1080, but YouTube likes to compress things. So I will just tell you what I'm seeing here on my pretty high quality 4K monitor here with me in my office, what I'm seeing between them. And if you can't see what I'm describing, it might be because YouTube has compressed or reduced the quality of the video you're watching right now. So I'm just gonna move on through these. So this is 1X main camera. Both of them look good. Here's an example where, you know, there isn't a clear winner except the fact that the Pixel 7 Pro has a bit more details and some stuff, but both of these are great. I'm not gonna pick one over the other there. Then we have the 2X, and in the 2X, you start to see a little more noise, a little less detail in the bark here. Like it's not as clear as it is with the 7 Pro. Now the 7 Pro, again, cropped the bark out, but this background palm tree here looks great. It looks there's more detail and it looks sharper. Not sharpened by like an algorithm, but actually sharper. It took a better picture of these background palm trees and the text on the sign rather than the Fold, which the text on the sign is a little blurred and the palm trees are just a little less. But then again, that might be quality because of the sensor size. And I'm going to get into the technicals about the sensors soon. I'm just going to try to get through these quickly here. Here's a picture of Telephoto 5X of a sign across the street. Now, here's an example of where if this was a blind test, I'd probably pick the Fold. The Fold has nicer, richer colors. I mean, the color of the rust looks more correct to me. The Pro 7 looks almost identical. If anything, maybe even a little softer. So I think this is the Pixel Fold's algorithm, which tends to sharpen things post photo with the algorithm. It tends to over sharpen things a little, but in a scenario like this, it doesn't look bad. I mean, again, how crazy is that? If this is a blind test, I'd pick the Pixel Fold, and they're both great pictures. Yeah, I mean, there's some over sharpening here on this lamp, and there's more blurred on this background lamp here because of the shallow depth of field of the Pixel Pro 7. But I actually had to double check that this was actually the Fold picture on the left side and the Pixel 7 Pro on the right side because they both look great. Let's go to the next one here. We have a photo of a pier, again, telephoto 5X, that's far away. Now, when you zoom in, both do a pretty good job, but the Pixel 7 Pro it's a little less noisier, a bit cleaner. Again, not sure if that's coming across. Also, the waves are not as noisy or not as compressed. There's some more blurred artifacting going on here, and I know that's something that's kind of hard for these camera phones to pull off, but none are fantastic. I would just say that they look great from, this zoomed out distance, but if you zoom in, the Pixel 7 Pro has a bit more detail there. Now we're going to go to a beach shot here, and again, if this is a blind test, I'd probably pick the Pixel Fold. And this is how these cheaper phones like the Pixel 6a or Pixel 7a beat like the latest iPhone or even a Pixel Pro 7 in a blind test. Because sometimes people just look at the mood of the photo, the color, the warmth. I mean, it definitely was warmer. And the real life colors would probably match the Pixel Fold here in this scenario. When I was actually there. The sands were a bit more orangey, less white at this time. This was kind of sunset. But when you go into these waves here, these waves are kind of more muddied, blurry, kind of, not the cleanest here, where the waves on the Pixel 7 Pro are a bit sharper. You actually see the little strings, the little pieces, the details a bit more. And I'm guessing it just caught, the waves with a higher shutter speed, And when you look at the sand here looks great. Seaweed looks great. The sand has a bit more detail. I see more grains, more texture on the Pixel 7 Pro. But blind test, zoomed out, I'd probably pick the Fold in this, But technically, which is better, if you would have printed out or look at it high res, the Pixel 7 Pro is going to beat the Fold there. No surprise there. For anybody that's a vegan or vegetarian and is aversion to meat, sorry if this picture grosses you out, but this was actually a portrait mode shot of food, and I focused on the front of the chicken here, and they both look great. The Fold actually took a sharper picture, and they both blurred the background out pretty well. So again, another scenario where the Fold kind of wins from the distance. It takes you having to zoom in to really see the difference, but I just don't see the difference here. This is the main camera, not telephoto. I know we're jumping around a bit here, but this is an astrophotography shot I took. And unfortunately for the astrophotography, even though the Fold should win because it is its own tripod, it holds itself up at any angle, and you can take these 4, 5, 6 minute long pictures anywhere, it can't win because of the quality. Unfortunately, if you look here on the right side, this here is the Pixel 7 Pro. You can actually see the stars. It was actually kind of bright because this is a full moon, which looks like a freaking sun, but that's nighttime full moon. It was dark, but you can actually see the stars there. You see a bit more details in the clouds, and the shadows on the house are nice and soft. When you go to the Pixel Fold, the stars start to look a bit more blurry. They start to have this darker haze around them, like the HDR didn't work as well. The clouds, a little less detail, and then the shadow on the house is kind of just noisy gradient. It's like weird spiky jaggedness, like a JPEG artifacting kind of happening going on there. So the Pixel 7 Pro took a better astrophotography shot, even though I have to say that when you can have your phone sit like this was the Pixel Fold sitting on the roof of a car, and it took that picture that I just showed you. I actually had a hard time finding a way to get my Pixel 7 Pro to lean in the same angle to get a side-by-side comparison picture where they were almost the same. So I laid my Pixel 7 Pro on top of the Fold, and the top lid held both itself and my Pixel 7 Pro, both for the astrophotography shot. So it has to get extra points for that. That was fun. Next is we have a telephoto 5X zoomed in to the floor here. You'll see the shoe. The color looks nicer on the Fold, but there is less detail. It's a bit blurrier on the bumps. This is like some bump rubber mat. And the sneaker, the Pixel 7 Pro, has a cleaner textures and cleaner bumps in the photo, so it loses that round in the telephoto world. We have another telephoto here where unfortunately the Pixel 7 Pro does way better. The color is truer on the Pixel 7 Pro this time. It's funny that the Fold is actually desaturated. Both this picture and the last one and the next few were in overcast days. They were outside, middle of the day, but super cloudy. It was just raining slightly earlier. So the moment that I feel like direct sunlight is no longer in the photo or is not in your environment, the Fold starts to fall apart. The darker the environment is, the worse the photos get very quickly, especially if they're indoors at night or in the evening. Not a dark room, a bright room, you'll start to see the Fold fall apart. But here's outside. The word assembly, the last few letters are already blurry. There are details on this sticker you can't see, that in the Pixel 7, you completely see all the ridges on the bottom of that sticker. You see how sharp the lettering on that sticker is, and you see all of the letters in assembly sharper. Now it looks like it's probably a post-sharpened processing going on here, but overall it is a much sharper, much cleaner picture. The details on it across the board, even here this damaged area with the sticker on the left side, is just noisy and kind of garbled over here. The shadows don't look great. So the Pixel 7 definitely took a better telephoto picture here. Let's go to a telephoto shot again. I had to make sure that macro mode was turned off here so that the Pixel 7 didn't try to activate macro mode, even in zoom or whatever. And when that taken, it's a bit warmer and a bit brighter on the Pixel 7 Pro, but when you zoom in, the fold actually sharpened the correct letter. I tapped on this letter N for the word Tucson, and it came out great. The 7 Pro, actually, I tapped on the N, but maybe I tapped a little to the left. It actually focused on the O-N, and both are great. This is another one where, I would pick either or. 5x telephoto lens from a distance, and both look great. You may even pick the fold in that one. Let's see here. This is a portrait mode shot, and it's crazy that it's portrait mode. Like, I had to remind myself that it was, because of how perfectly it cut everything out. That's why the background blur is the same on the Fold and the Pixel 7 Pro, because the Pixel 7 Pro definitely has a much shallower depth of field, and it would be a much blurrier background, and the Fold would keep everything in focus. So that's why I know that for sure this is a portrait mode. The Fold is a little more saturated, a little brighter. You zoom in, the level of details there, because of the extra sharpening it usually adds, and the detail is softer in some spots, and other parts it's not. I think they both did a great job. I will say portrait mode on Pixel phones in general aren't their strongest suit compared to like an iPhone or even the Ultra series from Samsung, but these are both pretty great. Next, we're going to start off with the telephoto lens shot first, which is of a car emblem, and you may not see it here, but the Pixel 7 Pro definitely is smoother. It's not blurrier, it's just not as noisy, not as sharp. I feel like it's over sharpened on the Fold here, but again, both not terrible. They're both pretty good. It's brighter on the Fold. I feel like the Fold's always trying to go for a little brighter, a little sharper, and in this scenario it just looks a little harsh, but they're not bad. I'm really pixel peeping here. I'm really being brutal with the detailing, but I gotta say that when you see certain things, you gotta point out what is it that doesn't look natural. And when the Fold takes a picture and adds this extra sharpening, it just doesn't feel as natural as these pixel photos usually are. Here's another scenario, same thing. It's a little sharper, but it's a little brighter, and it doesn't look bad. Even when you zoom all the way in, you'll see the lines here on the radiator behind the grill are very sharp. And then this one, from the Pixel 7 Pro, not as sharp. That's that natural depth of field that the Pixel 7 Pro has, but actually looks better. The extra sharpening here, I mean, unless you needed that details, like if it was wording on a box, it doesn't help the photo here at all. So personally, if I just saw these two, I'd pick this one from a photography standpoint, even though these are both poorly, composed shots. We're just saying here, So here's another one where we have 5x zoom activated. It's raining. We're taking another picture of an emblem. You'll notice that the shutter speed was probably higher on the Fold. The Fold actually has shorter raindrops, where there's longer, streakier raindrops on the Pixel 7 Pro. So the Pixel 7 Pro actually took a longer picture here. They both look great. It's a little brighter and more detailed on the Fold, but when you zoom in, it's cleaner on the Pixel 7 Pro. The details look nice and clean. It's not as harsh and sharpened, but they're both great pictures. I don't want to say that the Fold lost by much here. So let's see, what do we have here next? We have the 1x shot of it. And even though it's a bit brighter on the Fold, the HDR, the highs and lows, are truer to what I saw in real life on the Pixel 7 Pro. You notice how this is kind of like a lighter silver, where this is a darker gray. The car was kind of a medium darker gray. And the whole highs and lows here being held together well, the dark of the grill, the brightness, it just looks better overall on the Pixel 7 Pro, especially if you zoom in. Now this is the ultra wide, and the ultra wide looks almost the same, except again the coloration and the highs and lows are better on the Pro 7. When you zoom in on any ultra wide of a Pixel Fold, it starts to fall apart in quality. I mean, the Pixel 7 Pro isn't much better, but the Fold's ultra wide is pretty weak. I've noticed that in most of my ultra wide pictures, they look great till you zoom in. And I'm not even talking about like you have to zoom in 100% or print this out. Like you send it to someone on like WhatsApp and they zoom in to see something and they can already tell it's not really the best. The last one I have here for telephoto outdoors is the Prime truck. You zoom in on the fan and you see a bit more cleaner details like on that fan. It's sharper here, but both look great. I mean, honestly, I would pick any of these, even zoomed in, as, you know, which one did it better. I mean, look at the details here on the Fold, how well it did for something that was probably like, I don't know, 50 feet away from me. You know, it really is surprising sometimes how, even though it has a weaker sensor, the telephoto lens on the Fold surprises me sometimes. If you catch it in the right light, if it's not moving, that's a more important part. The Fold can take a fantastic telephoto lens shot, you know. The 1X main camera for both do great jobs outdoors, but the telephoto definitely surprised me on this one. I'd say the Fold probably looks a little better. Now here's where the Fold starts to fall apart. Actually, both of them, to tell the truth. This is a shot in a dark room. I take that back. This is shot in a room with just a regular single light on in a room. And this is a Lego car of the Ghostbuster Ecto 1. So the Fold definitely the brighter picture, but at the cost of quality. When you zoom into the Ghostbuster emblem, it just starts to get all these weird artifacting and streaks and wavy lines. Like that sticker is not like that at all. You'll also start to see the wavy lines on what should be straight Lego hard edges, and you start to lose the rectangles here and things become a blurred kind of garbled mess. If you look at the Pixel 7 Pro, definitely cleaner logo. Lines are still wavy, but not as bad. And then when you look at what was the ladder here, you see the shapes it needs to be. Now, I guess the Fold with software updates can learn that it doesn't always have to take a brighter shot, that it can probably make the shutter speed a bit quicker in order to keep quality better, because the noise on this is like 5 times worse what it is on the Pixel 7 Pro. And I've been taking dozens of shots, if not hundreds of shots this week with the Pixel Fold. And if it's an indoor shot, like with family in a dining room or living room, and someone's like moving or getting up out of their chair, or kids are running around, with the Fold, the shot most likely will be kind of blurry with the main camera and the telephoto lens, especially the telephoto lens. It's just weaker with low light. And I'm not saying no light, I'm saying low light. The Pixel 7 has a better chance of taking a sharp, in-focus shot with low light. So I definitely recommend that if you plan on taking a lot of indoor shots. And again, you know, it's a mix of subjective and technical here, but I will have to say the Pixel 7 Pro still wins because it does great outdoors and indoors. It does great both with, you know, bright lights and very low lights, and that's to be expected because it is the thicker, bigger camera modules, and it should have the better camera. But I was hoping that the Pixel Fold would match it a bit closer, if not be almost the same. I will say the Pixel Fold, from what I've read online and pictures I've seen, really does beat the Samsung Fold 4. So for the best foldable cameras, maybe the Pixel Fold can be that. Now, if you're not a person that primarily uses the phone camera for everything, maybe this isn't that big of a deal for you because you have a secondary professional camera or point and shoot camera you do for those low light scenarios. But when you get into the technical stuff, as I mentioned before, you can look at sensor modules, 48 megapixels, the Fold's on the left side, Pixel Pro on the right side, just like in Photoshop. you can look at, 48 megapixels versus 50 is not that big of a difference, and it does a f1.7 lower aperture, that should be better, right? But then look at the size of the pixels. Look at the size of the sensor. The Fold is smaller, and even then, this can be it can kind of throw you off, because sometimes you'll see bigger pixel on this side. So I don't like looking at the specs of sensors per se, because Google does do a lot of post-processing. What I like to do sometimes, just to help me out, and even this isn't perfect, is I like to look at the name of the modules. And just to let you know, this comparison tool is a GSM Arena website, and this article with the actual numbers of the sensor modules is notebookcheck.net. I think they pretty much nailed it here with the concern I had. So the main camera on the Pixel 7 Pro, all cameras on almost all smartphones are Sony sensors. And the Pixel 7, the Pixel Fold, the main camera uses an IMX787, which is exactly the same main camera as the Pixel 7a. So if you have a budget $500 phone, your main camera pictures, which are really, really good, is the same for this $500 phone and this $1,800 phone. So if you're looking at the phone camera-wise, that's kind of going to have to throw you off that there's a $1,300, $1,400 difference here, and you're going to have the same pictures there. Now, the Fold has an advantage. It does have a telephoto lens, and the telephoto lens uses a sensor from the Samsung Galaxy Ultra from about 3 years ago. And I actually thought the telephoto lens on the Samsung Galaxy Ultra was amazing back then, but maybe it's something that Samsung does, maybe the glass they use or the way they tweak it. It just always felt like it was a bit better than what I'm getting out of the Fold. But then again, it has been years, so maybe I've just been spoiled with my Pixel Pro 7, which has a better telephoto lens in both of those. And then the ultra wide uses a very old Sony IMX386, and they mention it here by calling it rather ancient, and it's in old Mi Mix and Mi 6 phones, but you don't need to know if that sensor is 5 or 6 or 8 years old. The idea is that it is a ultra wide camera that constantly produces noisy pictures if it's not in bright daylight. So you can kind of tell, even if you're not a person that looks at all these high-end, all these exact details, you can kind of tell just by looking at it that it's kind of off, So again, this may not be for everyone to be doing these comparisons. It pretty much may just come down to this. And if you look at this, you can see, well, this one's darker, but it's a whole lot clearer. Then you get to pictures like this, and you're thinking, wow, they look almost the same. So, again, technical and subjective, somewhere in the middle is the truth. But, you guys let me know what you think. The Fold definitely surprised me once I actually made sure that the 5X button actually activated the freaking telephoto lens. That's a real annoyance, to tell the truth. But I'll leave the camera comparison at this. And, if there's anything else you want me to check, let me know. But I think I've compared these two enough. And maybe someone else here has another phone they've compared it to, and I'd love to hear it. But yeah, I'll stop the comparison portion here. Okay, so as you can see, daytime shots, it's just really obvious. The Pixel Fold takes fantastic pictures. And, not obvious as in who the winner is. It's just obvious that this can handle that. And you can't pick a clear winner. When you get to nighttime shots, certain telephoto shots in, dark room lighting, or just indoors, even with regular lighting. If you catch a kid running by you and you take a picture with regular indoor lighting with both this phone and the Pixel 7, this phone's going to be blurrier. It's just obviously the sensor and the aperture and the shutter trying to compensate for the fact that it just can't keep up with the hardware, and then you get all that noise. So the Pixel 7 clearly wins in a lot of scenarios. Not a surprise. I don't think a lot of people bought this thinking it's going to be the best camera in the world. But I was hoping that it'd be close. Do I change my mind about me recommending this? Again, if you want the free watch, if you can get the AT&T or Verizon deal where the phone's $1,000 off with a 3-year contract, with them spreading it around. I know they say it's not a contract, but if they're spreading your discount around, across 36 months, which is 3 years. And if you ever leave, you lose those discounts. That's a contract, guys. It's just a new way of not saying it and keeping you there for longer. You know, remember when we used to complain about 2 years or 1 year contracts? Now the standard contract's 3 years. So if you can get it from the Google store, the free Pixel Watch is still there. If you have some credit at Target, I hear it's coming to Target soon, and you're interested in a foldable phone, I can recommend this foldable phone if you're looking for a foldable phone. If you're just looking for a phone overall, then I can't really understand why these phones, especially with their specs, are still closer to $2,000. I mean, with taxes, this phone practically cost me $2,000. Sure, I got a free Pixel Watch out of it, which is valued at maybe, they say 350, but let's be real, it's probably closer to 200. The new Pixel Watch is all but announced. It will probably be announced with the Pixel 8 in come September and released in October, just like they do every year. So getting a Pixel One at the end of, getting a Pixel Watch at the end of its life is not really a great incentive, especially when you already have one. But maybe you want a Pixel Watch, maybe you want a foldable, and you have the $2,000 to burn. Definitely do it. Foldables are fun as hell, you know. I still have to recommend though. This is, despite the fact that this isn't the most delicate foldable, this is still considered a delicate phone. You're not gonna throw it around. You know, you're not gonna open it up and just jab at it and expect it to last a year. It's not. It's not the most delicate thing. But if you're at a beach and you take it out, you're gonna have to worry about sand, and a bunch of other things. So I still will say I recommend it for those that are okay with spending the money and want to get into a foldable, because I like this foldable. I can't recommend it to those that just want a high-end phone. A high-end phone is $800 to $1,000. Why pay $1,900? Only if you're gonna go into the fold gimmick. The camera's not doing it for me. For that, I'd take it a, Pixel Pro 8 or 7 for right now, or even a 7A. The camera's here. The main camera is identical to a 7A, so, it has the same main camera as a phone that cost $500 or $400 something dollars. That blows my mind. Again, I know there's limitations with the size. I hear that, but still, I'm just hoping it's Google. They figure a way to do it, right? Not this time. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that, guys. I actually was contemplating whether or not to return this. I pay the return fees. I still have a week to figure it out. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll update you guys in a future video. We'll see. But until then, have a good one, guys. Again, I hate to push it, but anyone that subscribes or likes the video, I really appreciate it. Again, this is a hobby for me. I'm not really making money or out to make a YouTube channel to try to incentivize it. Unless, let's be real, I get tens of thousands of subscribers out of nowhere and people start trying to throw money at me to say stuff. Absolutely. But no, let's be real. This is a hobby. I'm really into tech, phones, gaming, gadgets. And whenever I see anything cool, I'm going to talk about it here. And if you guys have questions, hopefully I can answer them all. So until the next one, guys, have a good one. And thanks for watching. Oh, also, let me know in the comments if anybody here has bought this phone. I'm dying to hear what other people think. I'm pretty active on Reddit, and I have a lot of people commenting on the Reddit Pixel Fold forums there. But if you're not a Reddit person, which quite honestly not everyone is, tell me in the comments if you got this. I'm dying to hear what you think about it, especially if you've owned another Pixel or another foldable. All right, have a good one.